So somebody that's been instrumental at Warrior Bride has been Christie Snow. She has been with us really since the beginning. And there's some others that have been here too. When we used to go out to hotels and knock on doors. You know, now that I'm looking back and older, I'm like, geez, what was I doing? Why wasn't I afraid? Maybe when I'm older, I'll be saying that about what I do now. But, it was a really cool start. And we were able to bring down some trafficking rings when Atlanta had Super Bowl in particular. It was really awesome. And some of the hotels were had charges pressed against them. And one particular hotel, it was really rough. And then we were able to get it broken up. And when we came back a few months later, the management had changed and everything. And the guy at the front desk had a hat on that was like God's Warriors or God's something like that, God's Warrior or something like that. And I was like, that's so good. It's so good to see the results, that what we're doing makes a difference. So praise be to God. So Christie's been instrumental. She has a mind that was really good with research. And so she's going to share some of that for us today. And right now I just want to read her bio. Christie Snow is an independent research consultant with a relentless passion for uncovering the truth and exposing the horrific crimes committed against children. She specializes in developing innovative, evidence-based research methods to track patterns, identify key locations, and expose the tactics used in satanic ritual abuse and mind control. Driven by a vision to accelerate the healing journeys for survivors, Christie envisions a comprehensive toolkit that will unite therapists, healers, rescuers, and survivors worldwide. This toolkit will include a global database designed to streamline deprogramming and the recovery processes by connecting key insights and resources. For the past 5 years, Christie has faithfully served as a volunteer with Warrior Bride Ministries and currently leads as a special projects research manager. Her work is instrumental in building bridges between lived survivors' experience and strategic intervention. So with no further ado, Christie Snow.
I need to make sure the microphone is right because I'm told I don't speak into it well. Does everyone hear me? I good? Okay, just wanted to make sure. I get that a lot because I'm bad about that. But I just wanted to say, good afternoon. We really appreciate all of you being here. I know that probably a good bit of you have maybe either heard me speak here at Warrior Bride before or perhaps seen me on the podcast. So you know that I normally speak about just research. But today I decided I was going to start out and tell you a little story. And naturally, I just knocked it off my phone. Because we can never have a conference without technical difficulties. Ever. My laptop died the day before I got here. I had to replace it the day before, recreate every program of everything I was going to print. And now I have lost the story. Normally when I get up here, I will ignore my notes and just talk. But I had this specifically worded a certain way that I actually wanted it this time, and now I lost it. So that's so professional of me. Thank y'all. So anyway, you'll just have to get it without all the fancy words. What I want to tell you is a story about a little girl. This is a little girl who thought that she had a normal life. I mean, she was taken to church. Everything seemed perfectly normal. And if you had asked her pretty much at any point in her childhood and even early adulthood, she would have said, yeah, nothing ever happened to me when I was a kid. Everything was perfectly fine. My family was great. They're Christian. Everyone went to church. Her grandfather was a deacon, just everything. Just if anyone asked, that's what it would wind up being. And she was even saved and baptized, of course. And she just went on her whole life. Pretty much, she knew things weren't exactly right somehow, but that was just life and simply the way that it was. You know, it's just the way that it worked. And I know a lot of people that are my age know what I'm talking about, that we were always told that when we were growing up, is that, you know, this is what it is. You know, it is what it is, you know, deal with it, walk it off, move on, right? That's pretty much, you know, how this all happened with her. And she was actually, had a grandfather who was a deacon in her local church, in the neighborhood church. And he was one of those people who would walk around the house and just exclaim, "Praise the Lord." You know what I mean? Just out of the blue. He did that so much that when she was growing up, it got on her nerves when people would say, "Praise the Lord." Because he said it all the time, and, you know. And then one day, her dad, her father, he decided that he was going to be a preacher too. And then so he just took up his father's mantle, and they both chanted that mantra all the time. They could just walk down the hall and just suddenly, out of the blue, just raise up their arms and yell, "Praise the Lord." And it would kind of freak some people out sometimes, like, you know, people that would come to visit or come to our house or whatever. Well, the home life where she actually lived did not reflect those Christian values that the family portrayed outward. They, you know, act like it in public and at church. They profess their faith, but in their house they were not doing that. Her earliest memories of being sodomized by her grandfather is at the age of 3. Also, he had probably his favorite little game to play was to chase her around with bugs, just all kinds of bugs, and threatening to put them inside her. That was his favorite game. He would grab her crotch at... Am I on the way back?
Does this help?
No, thank you. No, I don't need that because this is just a story. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm good. Okay. Anyways, so sorry about that. That was just some of the things that, you know, that he did. But then, you know, he also grabbed her crotch at every opportunity. One night he took it a little bit farther. One night he took her to who was called the big man in charge. So like the big man in charge of like the town, the county, the area, you know, whatever. And this man was at a Masonic lodge. And he was in the back room, and her grandfather took her there to negotiate a deal. And this was like right around the age of 4. I'm not sure if that's, you know, the specific age that they're looking for, because we know that how these people are. That there are certain ages that the occult wants for specific rituals and things like that. So I'm not really sure about that. But her grandfather threatened her that he would do those same things to her younger siblings if she ever told. And she had been programmed to believe that she was the family protector, that it was her job to take care of all the siblings, that that's what she was tasked with. Even though that she was very small, she took that job very seriously. Because she had a little sister and a brother, and she believed the lie that, because obviously she was a child, that the brother and the sister would be okay as long as she kept her mouth shut. And of course, we all know that, you know, that doesn't ever happen. They do it to everyone. They can. You know, but a child doesn't know that. And so she believed the lie, and she kept quiet because she did not want to be selfish, which is a key word in programming. She did not want to be selfish and cause someone else pain. Always this added responsibility, this what we call false responsibility. That comes up a lot in survivors. And then her, I'm so sorry about this thing, keeps going out. And then her grandfather wasn't the only one who had little games that he liked to play with the children too. Also her father. her father had this wonderful game he liked to play that they thought of as, well, the bridge ritual, because he would go to the local dam in town. And back then, we didn't have all of these fences around everything. Everything wasn't blocked off like it is. You could drive to the edge of it. You used to just drive right there. He would get the entire family in the car. That would always fill her with dread, because one of two things was going to happen. It was either going to be the dam ritual or the bridge ritual. Every time, and she did not want to play. But children don't have choices in the games that their parents play with them. They don't have a voice. So when her dad would take her to the dam, he would drive the car and do like this, the wheels like that, like the top wheels like right there, like he was going to drive off. So what always came into the little girl's mind when this would happen was, who am I going to save? I can swim, and my daddy can swim. But my mom and little brother and sister cannot, so how are we going to save everyone? So her plan was that she was going to try to take a brother and a sister in each arm, and that her daddy could save the mom, because she knew, pretty much that she couldn't do the mom because she was too big, because this is just a little girl. But that was always her plan. And then some years later, in adulthood, after she found out that her other siblings had, suffered these kind of same things too, she told her sister, who couldn't remember a lot of some of this stuff because she was so much younger, about how she felt, about how she planned every time she went to the dam, how she planned how she could save people. Her sister said that was the stupidest thing that she'd ever heard, and, like, quote, only you would think something so crazy, as if it were nothing. So at that point, I guess a healthy boundary developed itself, and she said, you know what, I guess my sister can take care of herself now. Because, she doesn't even see the trauma that everyone went through and refuses, then she just went on with it. But this damn trauma caused nightmares. Not even just nighttime nightmares, but daytime nightmares. I'm not sure, I don't know what you would call those. I haven't found a word for that yet, which is something, because I love to find new words. But I haven't found a word for that one yet. I guess we just call them like flashes, like maybe memory flashes. Like, she would have memory flashes of, like, being in the water by the dam, like in a boat, and then, like, all the water going away. Just, crazy stuff. And it would bother her and stick with her off and on through her entire life and up into adulthood. All the way up there, she didn't know what that dream was. And then, one day, a friend of hers said, I just started, I'm coming on the board of this new ministry in Marietta called Warrior Bride. And, I think you'd be a really good candidate. So she invited her to come on to be the director of marketing. So she went and checked it out talked to Kelly and everyone, and then so she came on board as director of marketing. And then there, she started to see and remember what she had forgotten, and the most important thing that she had forgotten is what she knew all along, is that it didn't matter anything that happened and what she remembered, because she had Jesus. And he was there with her all the time, every time. He was always in the car. He always walked with her. And then when she was old enough and able to handle it, he sent her to the place that she needed to be. And that little girl is me. And that is why I do what I do. Sorry about that, y'all. And also, it's why these damn rituals and things like that are why I believe that the Lord has me research the ground so much. I mean, I research pretty much everything, but every time I do, I just kind of see connections in my brain for some reason, and somehow they always wind up connecting back to the ground. And so the ground is kind of like a living, breathing thing. Did they give me a remote? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I just titled this, what lies below. Because that everyone is always looking up. I'm hitting the down button, right? I can't see because there's not light. That's down. I think I see it, but honestly, it's dark and I am blind. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, I see the down arrow. I thought I was mashing that. It's coming on green. Over towards you. Fun times with technology. Yeah. Technology hates Warrior Bride. Yeah, and I believe it's because it's Satan run. I don't know. That's the only thing that was here. Yeah, there's nothing else over here. The green light's coming on. So it must be turned on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, go to the next slide, yeah. Old-fashioned way to say next. Okay. So I'm going to tell you give you a little better idea about this damn ritual. To give you an idea about this. Part of this was that a little child brain is not capable of understanding this kind of reality. When they live one life, but their family appears to live a completely different way. That's very difficult for a child. And that also helps increase the nightmares. Part of the nightmares was that they would be in a car. Sometimes it wasn't a car, sometimes it was a boat. But when it was a car, you would be driving to the lake. And it really doesn't make any sense when you say it. But it's as if the water starts going away and a road appears. And I'm sure you may have seen that before. There's some places that if you can get across the road before the tide comes in, you can cross the road. So as an adult, I'm thinking maybe that kind of thing. And it took forever to slowly get some of those memories back. But as the memories came back, I realized that the facility was under the dam. Underneath the dam. Now, am I crazy? Maybe. Can I prove everything I say? No. But all I know to do is tell you what God shows me. If this is where the Holy Spirit shows you and tells you what to say, then that's what you do it. You obey. Because trust me, everything I do up here is an act of obedience. I made agreements that I would never tell this information publicly. That I would never say this out loud. So it's just to let you know, it's a really big deal for me. But it gets even crazier than that. In this underground facility are cages. There's all kinds of, you could only describe as unnatural creatures, maybe in people, like, kind of like maybe science experiments where someone was trying to, like, cross a couple of different animals or maybe even attach an animal to a human some way genetically. So obviously genetic modification. And these really weird-looking beings that walked around with clipboards. It really, but they would take you to a room, and they sat you down at a desk that kind of resembles a computer, like a desk you would have at school, like a regular school desk. Remember the old school desk? It was like that. And they give you a pair of VR glasses. And they show you things. Well, now, this is the early 80s. We're talking late 70s, early 80s. As far as the general public knows, there was no such thing as VR glasses. Of course, I promise you that this I can prove to you through tons of research avenues. There is not one single bit of technology that we have right now in the public sector that the military has not had for a minimum of 80 to 100 years. Every single thing. And there's also, which I can't be certain, but I can tell you, that there is a lot of evidence to prove that it goes back much farther than that. That basically all of history is a lie, everything that we know. And I know most people look at that and they're like, what, it's just a dam. It's just a dam, right? But that, to me, is like a place of nightmares. And I sometimes feel that I should maybe go there for some, I don't know, closure, some reason, I have no idea. But I'm not stupid enough to go there by myself. And I don't really know of anybody, to really to go with me or whatever. So can you go to the next slide now? Okay, because I want to tell you about my theory, okay? Like some of the theories I've developed by researching the ground. All right? So this slide right here is what I have is 2 maps of Georgia, okay? One of the maps shows you the lakes in Georgia. The other map shows you the minerals that are in the ground in Georgia. If you superimpose these two, you will see that Lake Allatoona, where the dam is, that was where the dam was put. That's the reservoir for the lake, the man-made lake that they made. Because I know a lot of people don't know this, but we have no natural lakes in Georgia. All of our lakes are man-made. We have a couple of sinkholes and a couple of things that are similar to lakes at the coastal plains, but we do not have any actual natural lakes. They are all man-made. They're all flooded towns. They're all in strategic areas. And here, at least in this state, and also North Carolina, I know for sure South Carolina and Alabama, they are all under the control of the U.S. Army of Engineers. And I don't know how much everyone knows about beginnings and things of program, but I can tell you that probably the authority on programming in the United States of America is the U.S. Army. It is the Army, and that particular branch, not that all of them don't do it, but that particular branch, that's where your programming is. We find more clients that have effects from those bases than anything. You just wouldn't believe it. So I started looking, and the Lord would tell me, everybody looks up. Everybody's looking up to space. They're looking up to everything. But nobody pays attention to what's under their feet. No one cares. Oh, it's grass. It's dirt. What you don't realize is that all of these things on the ground that you walk on every day are in your everyday life, affect your everyday life. That in fact, you cannot live your lifestyle at all without those things. And so, I'm going to show y'all. I'll pass it around so you can see it. I want to show you what's so valuable underneath the lake. Can y'all go to the next slide? Okay. I'm going to talk really loud. Can y'all hear me? All right, so I'm going to pass it around. This is Sorry, I'm trying to hand that out. Sorry about that, y'all. So, and there's all kind of uses for barite, right? So I'm going to show you some of the metaphysical uses. Which, now, once again, I'm not saying that these work these way. It does not matter what either one of us believe. It matters what they believe. Their religion and their faith is what they do. We don't have to believe that it works this way. What matters is that they do and that they use it. That's the important thing. So, barite is supposed to connect you to higher realms and spirit guides, and it guides you to the ancestors. And what do we know about ancestors? Bloodlines and cutting ties and breaking agreements, and that's what that does. It gets you to those ancestors. And it's supposed to strengthen your inner dream vision. So, it makes you dream better. Can you go to the next slide? But there's other things about it. Its effect in radiation. That little mineral that y'all are passing around right now is the reason that they can see in your body, your bones, your muscles, your heart, whatever that they're looking at when they do a CT or an MRI. That is what makes them see that. People don't think about that kind of thing. Oh, well, it's just a machine that they made, but what you don't understand is they're not making any of this stuff without that. They're not making medicines without this. And I know people think, a lot of medicines were initially plant-based, which is true. But medicines always were and still are mineral as well. And people don't think of that because they say, well, rocks or crystals, and they don't think that they're actually used as medicine, but they are. They're utilized all over the medical field. But this actually blocks the radiation, the EMF, all the magnetic field, so that they can see inside the body. That's what they use it for. Just that little piece of something there. And you can Google it, and they'll probably tell you that the world will cease to exist in the way that we do it right now if we don't mine barite. Okay? They say that the barite is all used up under there. There's no more barite in that area. But if that is true, then I'd like to know why the ochre company is constantly mining over there. They call themselves ochre, which is another mineral that we'll get to, because they say that mainly they get that for building supplies and materials. But they're still getting barite. You can look on their website, and it still lists that they do barite. One thing you can do, I notice in research, is they will usually tell on themselves if you just read it. The enemy puts it out there. You just don't pay attention to it. You just look at it and say, oh, they dig stuff. They dig in the ground, who cares? And you don't pay attention to it. But I do. I ask questions. I'm always, well, if this, why that? How that doesn't kind of make any sense. Can you go to the next slide? And there's not just barite, but there's all kinds of other rocks that they use for medicines and stuff. How many of you people are familiar with that condition of bipolar, bipolar disorder, right? How many of you have heard about the medicine called lithium? Here's your lithium. This is lithium. That mineral is called lepidite, and it has a very high concentration of manganese. And that is something that is all over the ground, all over everywhere, and they still mine for it today. But they can't even make that medicine. That's where that base for that medicine came from. Kind of like how aspirin came from a plant called white willow bark. Well, that's lithium. And there's also another medicine. Can you go to the next slide? So I can show you this. Okay. This right here, I had a piece, and I'm so sorry, I totally forgot to bring it. because you've got to see this in person. This mineral right here, it looks like something made up, right? Like it came out of a 3D printer. That's not. That's a mineral out of the ground. It's called bismuth. Do you know what that is? That's Pepto-Bismol. Have you ever noticed, like, if you look on the Pepto-Bismol bottle and you read it and it says Bismol? Because it's bismuth. That's actually what makes it pink. It's very pretty. And even in person, and you hold it in your hand, it kind of looks fake. I mean, it really does. I mean, it's a real actual mineral, but it looks fake. It's crazy looking. But people are usually shocked, like you are literally taking in a powdered form of that mixed in your Pepto-Bismol. That's how it's made. And no one thinks about this kind of thing, you know? And I'm like, well, if they no longer need to mine for this stuff, how are they making all this medicine? If we don't mine for these minerals anymore, how do we make any of this stuff? The electronics that are made out of them, everything. Like, I mean, you can't make a thing without quartz. There's not a cell phone, a watch, a television, an electronic device on the planet that you can make without a quartz rock. I mean, and how many people have looked at a watch and read on that watch like 150,000 times quartz movement? That's what quartz movement is. And no one thinks about that kind of stuff, but except for me. So. Huh? Okay. Okay. So, I mean, I think about everything. Like, I'll look at that quartz where it says that on a watch, and immediately my head goes, wait a minute, that's a mineral. Hey, that's why that works. And so I have to go look it up, because I can't stand not knowing things. It's a very annoying habit of mine, I can tell you. It really is. I mean, I run across words, and I'm like, I don't have that in my vocabulary. And then I'm upset with myself, and I have to go look it up and learn it. That's just weird. I don't know. Can y'all go to the next slide? So that's the lepidolite that I handed you around. That was the sorts of lithium, you know, that they use for all kind of mental health disorders. And like I said, the biggest thing is bipolar. So can y'all go to the next one? I'm sorry, my laptop died literally the day before we got here. So I've lost all of this stuff. And, I apologize. I apologize about that. But, so this is what it leads to, what I'm always thinking of, is when, in Luke 19:40, when he said that I tell you, if these stop speaking, the stones will cry out. He is telling us that if we don't get out there, if we don't get involved, if we don't get out here and we don't do something about it, the very stones in the ground that we depend on, that we can't live our modern lives without, are no use to us. Why not take them away? And I've been asked for the past 3 years about a book and a website and all this stuff. And I was always like, honestly, I don't know that there's enough people that want to listen to me to have a website or a book, but But I was asked, so I thought, okay. In my time in between, my 40 full-time jobs, I prayed about it. I asked the Holy Spirit, what should I say? What do you want me to do? Like what I do when I do presentations. I sit down at the computer and I say, what do you want me to research? What do I need to know? What do I need to tell someone? What am I supposed to say? Because it's not me. It has to be an act of obedience. So I have to constantly tell myself that, because I'm human, to try to get out of the flesh and just let the Spirit guide that. I try really hard to do that, and I'm not perfect, but I try. So I started writing a book. I realized if I wrote the big book showing everyone the connections between everything and all the subjects, that it would be like 9,000 pages. So that's not possible. And that would probably take 50 years. I have no idea. So I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. You want me to write this book? How am I going to write this book? Like, and do I even know how to write a book? Like, seriously. I mean, I was an English major, but I wrote essays. I didn't write books, you know? And he was like, sit down and start writing. So I just sit down and start writing. And then it came up, and I got to a point, and he was like, okay, that's it for this book. And I'm like, this is small. And people are going to be like, this is not even worth my time. This is a waste. But he knows better than I do. But then when I went back and I looked at it, I could tell that it would be too hard to receive too much of this information at one time. It's going to have to be in little bits. So I'm writing a series of small books. So it's easier. So you can take one thing at a time. Because when your head is just crammed full of so many things, you have a tendency to automatically assume that everybody else in the world knows that too, which is also a part of programming, being told, well, you're not smarter than anybody else, you know, that kind of thing. You know, how this kind of stuff works. So, you know, something that you have to fight to come out of agreement with all the time, you know. But I did realize, I was like, as of course he was right. I mean, you know, there's never any question, but you know, I'm human. That you couldn't handle it any better than that. But the wonderful warfare that we receive here, yeah, like, thank you so much. But that's okay. God overcomes it, though. It's fine. He's got it. That just means there's something else that's supposed to happen with it. Just have to let it go and know that it's something else that's happened with it. So I sent the book off to be printed. They send it back to me finally the very last day, literally the day before I left to come here. At like 6 p.m. at night, it comes in. So I'm going to bring it because I only write it for like this crowd. This is not on Amazon. This is not going on Amazon. I'm not putting this out in the public. I'm just not ready for that. Maybe there'll be a point when the Lord tells me that I should, but I'm not. Right now, I'm to be cautious with my audience. You know? So they sent me a book that, in my opinion, looks like a coupon flip book, and I'm very upset about it. But I've gotten a lot better about it. But, you know, my first thought when I saw it was, no one's going to buy this. They're going to, like, what kind of idiot writes a book that looks like this? You know? So, like, I went and I printed a copy myself and fixed the cover and everything and did it myself and stayed up till like 2 a.m. and fixed it myself, and it looks better than the ones that I paid for. So I was going to bring them with the intention to sell them, since obviously, you know, I can't expect people to really fork out a lot of money for that. So I just put them out here because I'm supposed to still give the information out. So I put them out there on the table, and they're just for whatever donation that the Father places on your heart that you want the information. Just I pray that you get a blessing out of it. And, you know, maybe I'll get lucky enough to not have cost so much money printing them. But, you know, it's fine, whatever, because sometimes in this battle we have to make sacrifices. And if that's what my sacrifice is, to even help one single person, then that's perfectly fine. Then, you know, then I have to, the only thing that we can do, we have to stand here and we have to say, yes, Lord. And that's the end of it. There's nothing else. That is it. So I do have some more like information about all this in the book. I wanted to keep this kind of short because I know we always get behind. I knew that. So I purposely made it short since that I knew that we would get behind, and maybe we'll be able to do like our question and answer panel. But also, I am happy to like answer questions for people and help you out. And I'm not like some paid research consultant. That's not the thing. I don't do that. I don't charge people to help them with things. And I do have like an email address that I've got over there on the book that if you have questions or something, or if you're trying to run down or validate a story or a location or something, If I have anything on it, I'm more than happy to share it with you. Because that's what I usually wind up doing is I track trafficking trails. I find underground tunnels, connections between institutions and things that are like you wouldn't believe how many here are from around the Marietta, Georgia area? Do we have many people local to there? Not very many. You'd probably be surprised what's underground in Marietta. There's a lot. And there's probably a lot. And if you have any programming in your family, if you have Masonic bloodlines, my entire area is nothing but a Masonic stronghold. Every single person. When you join the police force, the fire department, the paramedics, whatever, within 3 months you're recruited into Masonry. Every judge, every lawyer, every deacon of every Baptist church, preachers, everyone, everywhere. You cannot escape them in my hometown. I mean, it is a constant fight. So, I'm exposing what they're doing the best that I can, and in the way that the Father has me to do it, and I just hope that it helps you some. But thank y'all so much for listening. I appreciate it.
All right, good job. That takes a lot of guts to come out. Like I said, I've known her 5 years, and this is the first step that she's made, a big step she's made. So congratulations. We support you.